this was a good one, guys. You know how much I love a skin ribbon. I am super jealous of Taylor Green because he had an absolutely cracking skin ribbon in this patient. It's a really, really good one. My name's Reese. I'm one of the audiologists here at Audiology Associates. What we've got here is a patient. You can see a little bit of wax, very soft around the entrance here. If you're new to the channel, you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a skin ribbon. Basically, the skin inside the ear canal grows very differently to the skin everywhere else on the body. Apologies if you heard this before, if you're a member or a subscriber. But basically what happens is that skin migrates down the canal like a conveyor belt. That's the way I want you to think about it. And most of the time when it gets to the outer part of the ear canal, it breaks away with the wax and falls out of your ear. That's the natural cleaning mechanism of the ear. It keeps everything nice and tidy in there. But what can happen sometimes is that you can get almost a detachment of the surface layer of skin, but because it grows laterally like a conveyor belt, it's going to carry on growing. And that's what we're going to get here. So take a look at this. You get these long layers of doozy as well. Long strips. We're still going. I think it's still going. I think he's had to change grip now, but we're still coming out of the ear. So this is one very long piece of skin. But look at that coming away. And this is why I love doing these, because they're so super satisfying to watch. And normally you get a little plug at the end, but look at that. He's actually had to bend it in half to be able to see it, but it's cleared nearly all of the blockage out here. So just a bit of tidying up. Now the tidying up part can sometimes take a bit longer than the actual removal because you're still removing lots of dead skin, and you'll see how it peels away. Look how it peels off that surface there. Look at that. And now you can see how those ribbons form, you know, how they end up with these really long strips of dead skin inside the ear canal. I am super jealous because I haven't had one of these in ages, and Taylor's had two of these. You can check out the video before this, it came out last week. Two of these in the last couple of weeks, unfortunately for me, but they're looking very healthy. Eardrum looking good there. Slightly different on this side. Now you'd expect, well, okay, if you get it on one side, why do you not get it on the other? Because there could be a little quirk in the anatomy. These kind of things, they tend to form on something called the isthmus, which is where the bony bit of the ear canal meets the cartilage part of the ear canal. And they kind of butt up against one another and they raise ever so slightly. So it's got to go over, imagine like a speed bump in the ear canal, but all the way around the canal. So what you end up with is as that transitions over the bump, that's when the surface layer is more likely to detach. So sometimes you might have a more pronounced isthmus in one ear canal compared to the other. Sometimes people just produce a little bit more oil on one side, which keeps it nice and soft, that skin, and allows it to migrate a little bit better. But what we've got here is this kind of hard plug on the outer part of the ear canal. So let's see if we can just start to pull on this. It's not quite detaching yet. This is a tough old plug. Now I talked earlier on about keratin. Okay, so as the skin ages, it dehydrates, and when it dehydrates, there's a higher concentration in that skin cell than of keratin to water, and what happens then, that hardens the skin cell, so it goes tough as old boots, which is what you can see here, almost like a leather. So that's what's causing this kind of blockage, these hard blockages, is that this blockage is actually filled with that kind of hard leathery skin consistency. And you can see Taylor's really having to kind of wiggle this to get it out, but that plug came away really nicely. But we have got a little bit more further in, so we switched down now. This looks like, I think we're on the fine end now. So we've got, generally speaking, we use two different sizes of tubes. There are other sizes you can use. Okay, so you can get them in various different sizes, and sometimes I'll use slightly different sizes, more so for pediatrics than for adults, just because their canals are a little bit smaller. So we do tend to use sort of different gauges of tube for that one. But generally speaking, for adults, we have two different size tubes. We've got the Zollner tube, the standard one, which is the wider of the two, and then you've got a fine end. Now the fine end's like a little attachment you can, or almost like a little adapter, for want of a better word, you can pop into the end of the Zollner tube, and it sort of reduces the gauge there. I can never remember gauges, whether it's that, I think it's the higher the number, the smaller the gauge, but I can't quite remember. I'm never very good with gauges. But basically it makes the aperture at the end of the tube a lot smaller. And you can see now, this is the bigger tube. This is the Zollner tube. The pros and cons to both. The bigger tubes have a lot more suction power. They're really good for clearing bigger blockages, your bigger chunks of wax, larger bits of skin. But what can happen when you're dealing with skin like we are here is because you've got that bigger aperture, if a piece of skin which is quite thin goes into the end, it tends to get caught in the airflow and then vibrates up and down really, really quickly. And when that happens, it causes a really shrill whistle, that's really hard to say, which is called clarinetting, and it's really, really loud. And you don't want that to happen inside the patient's ear canal. If it does, you withdraw the tube immediately. So if you use a much thinner aperture tube, there's less chance of that vibration happening, and that's what Taylor's switched down to now. You can see that fine end. There you go. Very kind of quick background. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's the basics of it. So he's gone back up now to the standard size on the tube, because you can see he's working with a bit more wax, these bigger plugs, and he's got to remove these from the canal. This is dried onto the canal. It is super, super tough old stuff, this one, and really dry wax, being trapped behind that layer of skin, but it's coming away really, really well. And let's see if we can get to, where have we got? We've got one deeper section in there. Yeah, you can see now what's happening. See that layer of skin literally just flicked off the canal wall straight in front of where you want to go. So I think we're probably going to have to remove that in a second. He's got a good grip on this back section. I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to kind of lever this and try and draw it past this bit of dead skin. That's exactly what's going on. Now, he lost his grip a little bit there, and it's really near the edge of that piece of dry skin. So he was struggling a little bit. I would probably put a little bit of oil in now, because what's going to happen, see how that skin's flicked up? Now, what you've got there is 2/3 of that tube is on the wax plug. The last third was actually starting to suck that little bit of skin in, which means when you're pulling it, you're pulling against that dry bit of skin on the right-hand side, but he has managed to pull it forwards. And as he pulls the plug forwards, it's going to flatten that skin back down against the canal wall. Can he get it past this little bit of skin? It's a difficult one. He's doing well. Oh, it's quite a thin piece of wax. There you go, he's got it. And sometimes if you're really lucky, that bit will be attached to that little flap of skin, which looks like it was. And there you go. But wow, look, that is 8.5 centimetres of debris from both ear canals, just under 3.5 inches, guys. Stay tuned, there's one more video coming up next. Well, Katie's continuing the skin thread in this particular video. Now you can see on the eardrum here, it almost looks like there's webbing over the eardrum. It's a really odd looking eardrum, this one. And Katie did say that I couldn't tell whether this was skin or a little bit of wax. So we're going to go in and we're just going to remove this now. Now I'd imagine, let's see what she does here. Let's see what we're going in. We've got, so it looks like we've got the tube just about to go in. So she's having a good old look there. You can see she's really getting the lay of the land, looking at the eardrum, really kind of assessing what she's going to do. And that's super important if you're working anywhere near the eardrum. You really want to have a good old look around there. So in she goes now. This is the fine end we got here. Catches the edge, and look how this just straight into the suction tube. Skin peel, you can really tell skin peels are one of my favorite things to do. So it all just gets sucked straight into the suction tube. Now she's having a good old look again now, and she can see, she's like, something doesn't look quite right there. Let's have a little look. Very gently pulling on this, and look how this peels away. It's almost like gauze coming off that eardrum. And this is where we talked about that epithelial migration, where it's just not migrating off the drum in this case, and it's built that layer up, which would have really dampened that sound for the patient. But looking a heck of a lot better and a lot shinier there. No ruler shot on that one, guys, because everything got sucked inside the tube. Now, if you enjoyed that video, if you thoroughly enjoyed it as much as I did voicing it over, guys, smash that like button for me, because it helps everyone else to know this is a good video to watch. You can also subscribe to the channel as well. That way then you get to see even more videos. And if you want to go one step further than that, you can become a member of the channel, and that way then you get to see even more videos every single week. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and as always, until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of your ears, and take care of one another, and I'll see you again soon. Bye everyone.